Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB bikini pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Rains-Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. Hello and welcome to another episode of Confessions of a Bikini Pro. Today we have the pleasure of hearing from a very busy IFBB pro who is a biology major with a pre-med emphasis, and she is currently finishing up her nursing program before starting her job in labor and delivery next month. Welcome, Riley Worth. How are you doing?
I am great. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm so excited to have you on. And I got to start with a question that I love asking every competitor that comes on this show. And that is, what is usually going through your head right before you step on stage? What are some things that fire you up or get you excited, or really what's just happening?
You know, what's really funny is I tell myself not to trip and keep my feet up, because my first show I ever did, I tripped on the stage.
No way.
Yeah, and ever since then, I was just like so embarrassed. I was so upset. So every time I am about to walk on the stage, I take a deep breath and I slow my heart rate down. And I remind myself to pick my feet up and take it slow and just relax for a second, just for the the tiny little routine. So, and then I also do a prayer.
Wow, that's awesome. What does your prayer usually consist of?
It's usually just give me strength and remind myself why I'm doing this, and to pose the best way I can and show off all the hard work that I've dedicated all this time to, really.
Yeah, that's for sure. And especially for someone like you who, as I mentioned in the beginning, you're so busy. And you have done an incredible job of balancing your life and competing, at least from my outside perspective. And I got to admit, and I know you know this, but last year when I joined Team Edge, your posts, your updates, your journey really inspired me beyond belief. And seeing you work so hard and then go after it again and again and again before, I know you almost called it a close to your season, and then you earned your pro card right before you did, and that was so cool to watch happen. And I was like amazed by you. So I'd love to know from you now, and kind of outside of what you've shared or maybe publicly shared, what was that like for you to really hear your name called and know that everything you had been working for was finally fulfilled?
Yeah, that moment was just everything. It made everything last year so worth it. All the tears in the gym, all the countless hours, all the chicken, all the lack of carbs and lack of peanut butter. It was the best moment ever. And was interesting too, is it happened so slowly, if that makes any sense. Like when they announced my name, I immediately went into like a slow motion, and I made myself take in every single moment that I was feeling. It was amazing. It still gives me chills. I have chills right now.
I actually just got chills while you were saying that. That is
Yeah, it was
so cool.
beautiful.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Yeah. Watching that video that you posted of it happening too was like, oh my gosh, you could feel the real emotion that was behind that. Like you could almost see in your mind and your eyes and just the way you responded to that
Yeah.
actually coming to fruition, and knowing that, yeah, you had to sacrifice a lot and you worked your butt off for months on end, not really taking any breaks, and it all led you to getting exactly what you wanted. So what was it that kept you motivated and inspired throughout that?
Yeah, it's hard to explain. It was more of my whole life. I've dedicated my life through other people, like through relationships, of friends and boyfriends, and I never really had a time for me and doing something for myself. And I was going through a time of, I was just really upset. I was going through a breakup, and I just moved to Utah from California, and I was starting a new career path in nursing school, and I was so overwhelmed, and I was just like, you know what, like, I want to go for something. I want to go for a goal. I want to do something for myself for once in my life. And
Mm.
I think what kept me going was just having myself realize that I am worth something. I can do this. I can put my mind to it. And I was really training my brain to believe in myself. And I think a lot of competitors do the same thing. It's like you go into it because you want to set a goal and you want to reach the goal. And the only way you can really do that is, yeah, you have to put in the work, but it's all in the mind, like believing
Mm.
in yourself that you can do that. And I didn't believe in myself at all. And so when I started bodybuilding, it really got me to train not only my body, but more so my mind of
Mm.
getting through everything. It's like, you know what? You have 5 more minutes of cardio. Like, you need to push through it, because if you don't push through it, like, you're going to be really upset with yourself. Like, you got to keep going. Like, in Team Edge, like, they give you your little plan. It's like how many sprints you have to run or something. And it's like,
Oh my
okay, well,
God.
you have to do the 1 minute sprints on the 5 second incline or whatever amount of time it is. And it's like, okay, well, you can't stop at 50 seconds. You need to do the whole 60. And
Mm.
it's just, I don't care if it's 59 seconds. And, it's just training your mind to complete what you started. So I
Yes.
guess what keeps you going is really just, I guess it was just all of that all combined together.
I totally remember that in one of your Instagram stories, actually, you posted some different journaling things that you did to help you really take it to the next level. And that stuck with me throughout my preps too. Reading your thing, like, don't stop at 59 seconds. And I was like, yes, like, that's so true, because it's so easy to see it coming and see it coming. Your fingers kind of hovering over stop.
Yeah.
And you just want to hit that damn button, but it's like, no, you didn't put in 59 seconds just to stop right before your last
Mm-hmm.
one. And
Yep.
that's something that a lot of people don't care about those little details, but in the sport, it's all about the details, because
Mm-hmm.
imagine if every other girl is getting a similar program and you choose to stop before they do, is what's going to happen on
Yeah,
stage. That's going to
exactly.
reflect. And I thought that was really, really powerful of you, that you really incorporated mindset work into your journey. And I know, like, doing back-to-back shows is no joke. And
Yeah.
especially, like, I'm pretty sure, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you did like a month after month after month of prep. So with doing shows so close together, how did that impact your overall energy and emotional state?
Emotionally, that was probably the hardest thing I've ever
Mm.
done. And that definitely tests you mentally as well, because it's like everyone knows in the bodybuilding world, like when you're doing your shows, like you have your prep and you know your time frame. And originally, what Joe and I had, of Joe and Ingrid, we were like, hey, we're going to do just 2 shows. We're just going to do, I think it was June 1st was my first show last year, and then just nationals in July. That was our only plan. But then I ended up doing double that. So
Just double.
just double. Yeah. So emotionally, it was really hard going back to back. And if I went back to redo it, I mean, I probably would still go the same route, because obviously that route is what got me to where I am, not only mentally,
Mm.
but physically, and to winning my pro card. But health wise, that was probably not the best idea on the planet that I could have chosen to
Mm.
do. Because as competitors, like, you eventually start getting, some problems over time, because it's not healthy to be super low body fat like that for an extended period of time. So,
Right. Oh, yeah, for sure. And for anyone listening, by the way, when we reference, like, Joe and Ingrid were talking about the Team Edge coaches, and that's just to clear that up. And then, so they're her coaches. And then branching off of the health thing, that is so true. And it's not discussed enough. I actually made a post like a few months ago talking about how just because a lot of competitors stop getting their period doesn't mean it's normal or okay.
Yeah.
Right. And so in
Mm-hmm.
that world, like this bodybuilding world that we are in, it's become accepted as normal, kind of like how college drinking has become accepted as normal. That doesn't mean it's okay to become an alcoholic just because you're in
Yeah.
college. Right. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
let's really reevaluate what's happening here. And it's not really the healthiest sport at the especially towards the end or when you're keeping your body
Mm-hmm.
in that deficit. So what were some of those health problems that you were facing?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm still dealing with it now, which is why I've postponed competing, is because I think it started in July. My body started just rejecting everything I was doing. I was retaining water, I was gaining weight, and it just was not making sense. So it's mostly GI issues, because when you're eating so much protein and then you have to add the stress on top of it because you're so
Mhm.
stressed of crap, like I want to get my pro card, but there's hundreds and hundreds of other girls that want their pro card and just as great, if not better, athletes than me. And then so you're stressed about that, you're starving because you want a cheesecake and you can't have it. And
A
like, and it's
celebration
just
cheesecake, right?
yeah, my celebration one. And then you're like, well, I only get asparagus and chicken. That's not fun, but hey, you know what, if that gets me to my goal, then great. But yeah, it's just all the protein, all the stress, all that on top of being low body fat and doing all this cardio and working out. Your body is tired, it's exhausted. And so over time, if you're doing this for an extended period of time, and everyone's body is different and they react differently, mine, however, was like, yeah, no, you're not doing it, you need to chill, like you're done. But then other competitors, they can go on for a year and just keep going and they're great. So they might get it later on in life. But I mean, I've talked to a couple head judges about it, especially Sandy, who is one of the main head judges in the bodybuilding world right now. And
Mhm.
I talked to her at the FitCon a couple weeks ago about it. And she's like, yeah, there's a lot of competitors that have this problem. And that's why you need to take care of yourself. The stage will always be there. You don't need to worry about being forgotten about. You don't need to worry that it's just you're done forever. Like, it's not like that. Your health always comes first. That's
Mm.
not, don't get so caught up in social media. Don't get so caught up in just the world we live in. It's like everyone wants to be involved all the time, and everyone is so caught up in that they forget and then dismiss their health, and that's where problems can happen.
Wow, that's some really great insight. And I also love that one of the top head judges, if not pretty much the most well known in terms of helping girls to rewarding girls with their pro cards, anyways,
Mm-hmm.
um, would encourage that as well. And that says a lot, I think, about the sport and that competitors are really responsible for creating that mentality. And it makes sense because we're competitors of,
Mm-hmm.
well, I can't put my health first because then I'm putting my success on the line. And in this case, it's like, well, you have permission to do that. You just have to accept that it's going to change your journey, maybe different than you expected. And something
Yep.
you mentioned as well was like the social media or getting wrapped up in things. And this does impact our health because if we look at like the dimensions of well-being, there are so many of them that get neglected on a day-to-day basis because we're fed the idea that all that matters is our diet and our exercise, and that's just not true. So I know for you, I actually, I I brought it up to my boyfriend. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I haven't seen Riley post on Instagram." I was like, "This girl was inspiring me. Like, I'm about to do another show. I need to see what she's doing." Like, I was so motivated by you, and I was like, "What if she blocked me?" Because I was like, "Yo, I've been so supportive. Maybe this is like I'm too supportive." So I was like, I'm not gonna reach out. Like, I'm not gonna see how she's doing. And then I saw you post in the Facebook group, and I was like, oh, okay. And then when you added me, I was like, we good, first of all. And then I was like, okay, now I want her on the podcast to see what's going on. So tell me, what inspired the letting go of social media for you, at least Instagram?
Yeah, that was a huge, like, I don't even know the word to say. It was really hard. was really hard to delete it because I know, I would get messages every day from people of getting advice, and I loved motivating people, like, because my whole page was not about necessarily, I mean, it was about me, obviously, but it wasn't about like a selfish version of me. Like, my whole purpose was I wanted to help others and be like, look, like, if I can go get a pro card, and I started from rock bottom and I made it here in 2 national shows, like, so can you. And
Mm.
it's like, I was wanting to teach people, like, it is all in your mind. Like, I will say that and I'll take it to my grave. Like, it is your mindset. You have to believe you can do something, and then you can go out and accomplish it. But you can't accomplish something if you don't believe that you can do that. And
Mm.
I wanted to, like, teach people that through my journey and show people you can get through things in life and hardships, and then you can come out on top. You can do it. And when I decided, the reason why I decided to delete social media is I saw myself getting so caught up in just like everything I'm doing in life. I'm like, oh, I need to post about this. Oh, I'm eating. Oh, I need to post about it. Or, oh, I'm doing this. I should probably post. And it got to a point where it became more of a chore. And then it became of me being on there so many hours of the day, and I was wasting my day away. And then you get to a point too where a lot of women do is you start comparing yourself to other people. And that's, to me, I was just like, you know what? Like, I don't want to be caught up in this. And I saw myself going down a hole, and I wanted to stop it. Especially after turning pro, the pressure got so much more intense. And
Mm.
I was just like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, and I'm obviously, at the time, I was way in the middle of nursing school. So I was like, I don't want to get so caught up in something and I can't get out. And
Right.
so, and I felt horrible because I wanted to make an announcement like I usually do of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. But then at the same time, I was like, you know what? I just need to cut it. I just need to do it now. I just got to get out. I got to get out of this right this second. And
Mm.
I kept my Facebook. That's probably the only part of social media I have kept. And I've stayed low key because of that reason. I wanted to make sure that I'm not getting so involved of the comparison of other women. And it's just because, I mean, even if you're secure in yourself and you feel beautiful, and you're a hard worker, and you're this and that, but it's hard when you get caught up and you see other girls on Instagram and you're like, oh, like, why is my butt not curved like that? How do I do that? Like, her quads are so, and it's just, you keep going,
Mhm.
and then you get caught up on that explore page, and it's just, so I wanted to just get out
Cut
of it,
it.
and I have never been happier. So
That's really powerful. I think that right there really seals it in, because for some people, it's like they get the nudge to do it and then they just detox.
hmm
Like they do the social media detox and they make sure to tell everyone about it so that they can
yeah.
get validation or some sort of like, good for you. And all that's doing is perpetuating exactly why they feel the need for the detox or the letting go of it anyway. So I think that that's powerful that you were able to just leave and really listen and trust yourself on that.
hmm
And then to the point about like the way that comparison, right? Like to the
hmm
point of how we compare. And even if you are secure, it is really easy to compare yourself. And that's just because naturally, if we have a standard in our mind and we see someone else meeting or exceeding that standard that we've set for ourselves, it's pretty normal for us to go, why am I not achieving that? Or, oh, she doesn't do as much of this as I'm doing. Why am I not seeing the results? Or, oh,
yeah.
she just, like we don't actually know the full story. And so we make up the stories in our mind and then we like dictate it because it's like our own self misery. And, I mean, yeah, obviously, like get inspired, get motivated, find excitement in other people's journeys. But when you do see yourself starting to compare to the point where it's degrading your own awesome journey and success and the things that you've committed to, that's when we have to really take a step back and ask ourselves, why am I allowing this to infect me, really, to get inside my head so much that it actually distracts me from ever achieving something even close to that for myself?
yeah.
So that's awesome that you were able to actually go, I'm going to honor myself and leave because I realized that my reasoning for certain things has shifted. But did that impact some of your relationships? Because a lot of people do use social media for being social. So, and I know you were inspiring and helping people, but what about your more personal and close relationships?
Oh, so you mean like, was it affecting my relationships being on social media so much?
Yeah, that and also like leaving it. That's a great question, actually. I like
Yeah.
that one better.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, at the time I wasn't, since last year I wasn't in any serious relationship at the time. I don't it it was really all last year was about me. It was about me becoming myself. It was about me getting, I guess, like relating to people on social media. And when when I was doing that, I mean, yeah, it kind of took away from living in the moment,
Mm.
for sure. Like family occasions, family birthdays, friends, bachelorette parties, and stuff like that. Because it's like, oh, I need to post this, I need to do this. So I did
Mm.
feel like that was one of my biggest reasons why I wanted to get rid of it. It was because I was like, you know what, I'm life is just really short. And then it's, you see people all around you constantly on their phones, and it's so
Mhm.
cliche to say, but it is true that life is short, and we're spending so much more time nowadays on our phones and not actually like soaking in everything that's happening. And that's why when I went to my shows, because it goes by, I mean, it seems like it goes by slow, but it really goes by super fast. So I did not want to bring my phone like backstage with me, or that's kind of where it all started. Because like, you know what, I want to pump up and I want to remember like looking at all these girls, remembering the smells, remembering the just the energy, like. And my first show I ever did, I didn't remember one thing because I was on my phone the entire time.
Wow.
So that's, since that show, the same one where I tripped and fell, same one. I was like, you know what, this time we're going to take social media out. And it really makes you like sit and realize like, wow, like you remember all these memories in greater detail, and you remember everything as if it was yesterday. And it's so refreshing to do it like that, in my opinion and my experience.
Mm. Yeah, seriously. So you had mentioned also that it seemed to have brought on a lot of pressures once you actually got your pro card. Was that the pressure to keep inspiring people, or was it pressure from like companies, other opportunities? Like, what was that pressure?
Yeah, the pressure, I felt that I had more eyes on me. And
Mm.
it became like, I gained like, I think it was like 1,000 followers just in that, the same day that I turned pro. And I was like, oh my goodness. And I was getting so many messages and so many people asking me questions, and which I love to answer, and I love getting messages. But just the pressure of it, I was like, well, everyone's asking me when my next one is. And I felt pressure that I needed to keep going, even though I already
Mm.
went all last year and I was exhausted and I was scared of disappointing all my followers. And it became like way too personal. It was me. I mean, no one did it. It was really me just overthinking it. But
Mhm.
it just started to feel like I was getting pushed in a corner. And I was like, I'm not ready. Like, I need to recover. And I was like, well, I'm probably going to lose followers because they're going to be upset that I'm not already getting ready to go on stage. Like all these other girls that just turned pro, they're
Mm.
going like next weekend. And I'm like, yo, I need like 6 months to recover. Like, and so it just became so overwhelming. And I just lost it, and I was like, you know, is this really worth it? Like, because
Yeah.
my emotional stability and my emotional health, I feel like, is a little bit more important than worrying about what
Mhm.
other people are thinking of me at this point. So
Absolutely. No, that's so true and such a good reminder for all of us. And something that I see also a lot is like it seems as though, and I say it seems because this could just be my perception, that a lot of girls, specifically competitors, almost seem to only be competing because of social media.
mhm.
And I read someone's, I wish I could say who. So if anyone's listening and knows who posted this, feel free to let me know. But someone posted a question and they're like, would you still compete if social media didn't exist? And I thought that's a
Wow.
question because there's a lot of hype around it. And then there's a lot of people who think, well, in order to be a good competitor, a known competitor, known in the industry, favored, anything like that, which of course we all know doesn't matter who you
Yeah.
know and what you say. At the end of the day, if you work hard, that'll show on stage. But for you, I'm curious, what would you tell someone who thinks you absolutely need to be on social media in order to really be recognized and known in the world of bodybuilding?
Yeah, that's a hard one. Because I mean, I think it's more important that you're on like a well-known team from my experience, because I mean, having coaches that the judges know very well, and that and then your team will post pictures of you and your progress, and then they're going to see that. I mean, yeah, that's good, but I mean, that doesn't mean you're going to win.
Yeah.
Like you could, like you could look like you could have lost 100 pounds and you look great. This is the best you've ever looked. But however, going on stage, I mean, the judges aren't going to be like, oh, she lost this much weight, so she's going to win over this girl who didn't even really
Right.
need to lose anything. Which, unfortunately, I mean, that doesn't mean they look bad. It just means that that's not the look the judges are specifically looking for.
Mm.
And they could like your picture on, like, I had a judge like one of my pictures on Instagram, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so great. But then I was reminded, it's like, okay, that doesn't actually matter. It matters because how they judge you is not, it is based on what you look like, obviously, and how much water you pulled and how tight you are, and if your glutes are full and your shoulders are full and all that. And it's like, you could look really great on social media, but in person, maybe you got flat the night before and you weren't even expecting that to happen. So
Mm.
it's not, so social media can be really deceiving too. There's a lot of Photoshop nowadays that goes on too, and they make you look better than you, and all the filters and
Mhm. So
so it
true.
doesn't matter. Like, I mean, they're probably really proud of you and it's good for you. You're killing it. But yeah, once you get on stage, your presentation is so key, like how you present yourself and how confident you are, all of that.
Yes, this is so true. And honestly, I was when I competed at the Legends Classes Classic this past year, it was in conjunction with an IFBB Pro show, and I was so glad I got to watch some of the pros on stage. But I will say that there were some who I was like, wow, they have such a different energy than the girl who just stepped on.
Yeah.
And I thought that that was really surprising because to me it's like, oh, I thought everyone's presentation would be beautiful and amazing, and they were all to each their own, right? But you could tell that the ones who did carry themselves with confidence and poise did the best,
Mm-hmm.
and they were recognized for it and they were rewarded. And I think that the judges can feel that energy, and like you said, just because you look confident on social media, or just because you see a competitor who looks confident on social media, doesn't mean they always bring it on the stage. And obviously everyone's on their own journey getting better, but it's another good point to not compare either,
Yeah.
right? It's like, oh, we
Mm-hmm.
don't actually know. And then that's why I love, like, when people are really honest about their journey and share those things. Like, yeah, I was flat. Yeah, I didn't pull enough water. I pulled too much water. Oh, I feel really confident about how I did and I have nothing else to say. Those are really things that I like to hear. So, um, now I would just really like to know, to kind of cap this off, and it kind of goes off of that question, but just in general, what's some advice that you would give to new competitors or competitors who are working hard to go pro?
Yeah, my best advice, which I was saying through this whole podcast and all last year, is you just really can't give up on yourself. You have to be persistent. Judges love the persistence. If you keep working hard and you keep going for it and have that mindset and remind yourself every day of what your goal is and how you're going to get there, and never doing less than, the minute sprint, like, you'll get there. And it's a journey. That's why they call it a journey. Some people's journeys are longer than others. I know a friend of mine, it took her 4 years to turn pro. She did like over 20 national shows.
Wow.
And her and I won our pro cards together. And I did it in 2. And then some girls, it's like they can do it the first time. My friend, she got her pro card her very first national show. And then the show before that was her first show she's ever done in her entire life.
Wow.
So it's just like, it just depends on how your body responds. Everyone's body's different. And just because you don't look like someone else, or your glutes are not the same as another girl, that doesn't mean they're bad glutes. It just means your body type and your muscle group formed differently than others. And that's okay. And judges know that. They're not retarded. They don't, I mean, I shouldn't say that. It's not silly of them to, I mean, they're not naive. They know this.
Right.
So I think it's just important to just continue to believe in yourself. Never give up on yourself. If you have a goal, whether it is turning pro or whether it is being an astronaut, it's just make it a goal, and not only make it a goal, but write the ways of how you're going to obtain the goal. I think that is what people miss in goal setting, is they don't write down how they're going to do it. They just have a goal. And then a lot of people tend to fail in that way, and they don't understand why. And it's like, well, you need, like, what's the plan? How are you going to get it? What are you going to do? What's different? So I think that would be my best advice for that.
That is excellent advice, and I 100% agree with you. I think that's amazing. And to everyone listening, I hope that you not only take that advice, but apply it into your life in every single aspect, because Riley is a pure example of what that can do for you. And I think that we should all take her lead and do that, because it's powerful. Putting it on paper, putting it out into the universe, saying a prayer, whatever works for you. And to touch on what you said earlier, even remember, she started this podcast by saying she's worth something. She's going to do this for herself. And the only way it was going to happen is if she believed in herself. And it all goes hand in hand. And Riley, I'm so grateful that you decided to come onto this podcast and share all that beautiful insight with us. And it's been such a pleasure.
Yeah, I've loved it, every second of it. Thank you so much for asking.
Of course. And to everybody listening, you can catch all the show notes down below in the description, or of course on www.celestial.fit/podcast. But make sure you check the show notes below so you don't miss anything. And of course, please leave a comment on any of my social media posts, just so I can pass it on to Riley and let her know how awesome and how appreciated she is, because I truly, truly loved this interview and this question, and just want to say thank you again. And to everybody listening, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever you are in the world, and just make it awesome.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.